La Catedral Prison, Colombia, June 1992. Lunch is served to Pablo Escobar. Chef Carlos Mendez watches from the kitchen doorway as Pablo's silver fork, engraved PE, stops halfway to his mouth. The drug lord sniffs the bandeja paisa, then looks up. "Taste it first," he says. Mendez's face goes white. Prison guards had paid him $50,000 to add cyanide to that exact meal. The fork hovers over poisoned beans. Mendez refuses for the first time in 18 months. Within seconds, Pablo's bodyguards have him. 72 hours later, authorities find Mendez in an industrial vat, boiled alive at 200 degrees. Pablo Escobar controlled La Catedral prison completely. Documented fact by journalists who investigated the luxury fortress. The silver fork sat on the table throughout his interrogation, gleaming and deadly. How did Pablo know the food was poisoned? And what happened in those 72 hours before the chef died screaming? La Catedral Prison, 1991 a 1992. The world saw Pablo Escobar as a surrendered kingpin serving time for trafficking. The reality was different. Pablo had built La Catedral himself on a Medellin hillside, negotiated every detail with Colombian authorities as the condition for his surrender. Inside, he ran the Medellin cartel exactly as before, ordering executions, collecting millions, managing cocaine routes across 3 continents. Journalists and investigators would later document the extent of his control. Phones, fax machines, armed guards loyal only to him. The silver fork was part of his paranoia routine, engraved with his initials, kept polished, used for every meal. People close to Pablo said he told his chef, "The man who feeds me owns my life. Choose wisely." Chef Carlos Mendez was former 5-star restaurant, hired for $200,000 per year. 3 previous chefs had quit within months. Nobody knew why, but rumors suggested Pablo's tests of loyalty involved more than cooking. In prison, the king isn't the one with the key, it's the one with the fork. May 1992, Medellin. Mendez had served Pablo for 18 months without incident. His routine was precise. Breakfast at 9, lunch at 2, dinner at 8. Pablo never ate anything Mendez hadn't tasted first. Standing rule, no exceptions. Then one night after market, 3 Colombian prison guards approached him near his car. They knew everything: his routine, his daughter's school schedule, his exact salary. The lead guard placed an envelope on the hood, $50,000 in cash, American bills. "1 meal," the guard said. "Poison it. Then you disappear to Ecuador. We have papers ready." Mendez's hands shook as he opened the envelope. Bills crisp and real. Colombian authorities had attempted multiple times to kill Pablo, documented fact in DEA files and news reports. But this felt different, more organized. The guards showed him a forged passport with his photo, a plane ticket to Quito dated June 16th. Then they mentioned his daughter's name, her school, the time she got picked up each day. Mendez had a 12-year-old daughter who knew nothing about her father's employer. Every man has a price. Sometimes it's paid in threats, not money. Flashback to 1991, when Pablo first entered La Catedral. He'd brought his entire organization with him: Roberto Escobar, his brother and accountant, managing finances from a makeshift office; Popeye, his chief sicario, overseeing security and enforcing discipline; Otto, head of the prison security detail, coordinating between Pablo's men and the official guards. The system for food was elaborate. All ingredients checked by 3 separate people before reaching the kitchen. Pablo watched Mendez prepare meals via hidden cameras installed throughout the cooking area. Pablo's organization was highly structured, well documented by DEA agents who'd spent years tracking the cartel's operations. The silver fork ritual was sacred. Same fork, polished daily, never left Pablo's sight between meals. Mendez kept it in a locked drawer he personally controlled. The fork represented trust in a world built on betrayal. But here's the first crack. Otto had been taking bribes from prison guards for months, letting in contraband, passing messages, slowly compromising the fortress from within. Trust is built in layers. Betrayal only needs one crack. June 1992, the guards laid out their plan in detail. Target meal, bandeja paisa, Pablo's favorite dish, red beans, rice, chicharrón, avocado, arepa. Lunch service, June 15th, exactly 2 o'clock. The poison, a cyanide capsule disguised as a black peppercorn, dissolves in heat. Tasteless, fatal within minutes. "He'll taste it before you do," Mendez said. The guard smiled. "He trusts you. You've served him 200 meals without issue. He'll eat first this time. Just once. That's all we need." They showed him the capsule next to real peppercorns. Identical, impossible to distinguish by sight. Cyanide was a common assassination tool in Colombia during this period, favored for its reliability and the difficulty of detection in autopsies. Mendez asked for proof they could protect him afterward. They produced the passport again, the ticket, photos of a safe house in Ecuador. What Mendez didn't know, the DEA had an informant inside La Catedral, tracking every movement, building a case. A second player had entered the game, invisible to everyone. The perfect crime is the one where the victim never suspects the weapon. June 14th, 1992, evening. Mendez stood in his home kitchen practicing the poisoning. His hands trembled as he ground the cyanide capsule into the pepper mill, mixing it with real peppercorns. He thought about his daughter, about Ecuador, about $50,000. Enough to start over, enough to disappear. The kitchen smelled like cilantro and fear. At 11 that night, his phone rang, unknown number, a voice he didn't recognize. "Pablo knows. Leave now." Then silence. Mendez stood holding the receiver, sweat running down his face despite the cool night air. Was it real? Or were the guards testing him, making sure he wouldn't break under pressure? He called the guard's number. No answer. He counted the money again. Still real. He looked at his daughter sleeping in the next room. In Pablo's world, paranoia wasn't a disease. It was survival. Mendez convinced himself the call was a test. He'd come too far to back out now. But that hesitation, that single moment of doubt, had already cost him everything. Paranoia is contagious. In Pablo's world, it's also survival. June 15th, 1992, 2 o'clock. Mendez entered Pablo's dining room, carrying the bandeja paisa on a silver tray. The room smelled like leather and cigar smoke, Pablo's constant companions. Armed guards stood at each corner, watching everything. The silver fork sat beside the plate, polished to perfection, catching the afternoon light from the window. Pablo looked up from paperwork. Cartel business, probably. Orders for shipments or executions. He studied Mendez's face for 3 long seconds. Then he picked up the fork, held it over the food, and paused. He sniffed the steam rising from the beans. Something in his expression changed. "You taste it first," Pablo said. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. Like always. Mendez's face drained of color. The cyanide was already in the food, mixed into the beans through the pepper. If he tasted it, he'd be dead in minutes. Pablo was legendarily paranoid about poisoning, documented by associates who'd watched him refuse hundreds of meals based on instinct alone. The fork hovered over the poisoned beans. Pablo's eyes never left Mendez's face. For the first time in 18 months, Mendez refused to taste. Silence is an answer. Hesitation is a confession. Minutes later, Pablo's guards dragged Mendez down concrete stairs to the basement, a section of La Catedral the media never photographed. Pablo followed, still holding the silver fork, still calm. The room smelled like damp stone and old blood. "Who paid you?" Pablo asked. Mendez stayed silent, hands shaking, thinking maybe silence would save him. Pablo made a phone call. 20 minutes later, a chemist arrived with a testing kit. Pablo kept one on site for exactly this scenario. The chemist took a sample of the beans, added reagents, waited. The test strip turned blue. Cyanide confirmed. Pablo's expression didn't change. He sat across from Mendez, placed the fork on the table between them. "I'll ask once more. Who paid you?" Mendez broke. He named the 3 guards, described the $50,000, showed them the passport hidden in his jacket. He talked for 40 minutes straight, giving every detail, hoping cooperation would buy mercy. People close to Pablo said he never forgot betrayal, but sometimes rewarded honesty. The chemist confirmed the poison concentration, enough to kill 3 men. Then Pablo asked the question that mattered. Who else? And Mendez revealed Otto's name, the head of security, the man who'd helped plan everything. Loyalty ends where fear begins. Fear ends where death waits. Same evening, Pablo's sicarios moved fast. The 3 guards were grabbed from their posts, taken to a warehouse on the prison grounds. Pablo controlled the entire complex, every building, every entrance. Otto tried to run, made it to the Colombian border with $2 million in cash before they caught him. Pablo watched it all unfold from his dining room via phone, eating dinner with a different fork, speaking quietly into the receiver. The screams from the warehouse came through clearly. The guards were confessing to everything. Working with Colombian government officials, trying to end Pablo's empire, believing his luxury prison made him vulnerable. Pablo ordered numerous executions from La Catedral. This is documented fact in Colombian police records and international investigations. What shocked everyone was the final confession. The prison warden himself had authorized the assassination attempt. The official charged with keeping Pablo imprisoned had tried to kill him. Pablo hung up the phone, finished his meal, and made his decision. The message had to be unmistakable. Fear had to be restored. The assassination attempt would cost more than the conspirators' lives. It would cost their dignity, their humanity, their final moments of existence. Power isn't the gun. It's knowing who's holding it while you eat. June 15th to 18th, 1992. Mendez spent 72 hours in a basement cell, concrete walls, single light bulb, no windows. Pablo didn't kill him immediately. He wanted every detail extracted, every connection exposed, every person involved identified. The interrogation happened in shifts, 6 hours on, 6 hours off. Who else knew about the plot? Who provided the cyanide? What was the exact timeline? When would Ecuador expect him? Mendez revealed more with each session. The DEA had promised witness protection if he succeeded. They'd offered to relocate his daughter to America, new identities for both. Pablo realized the scale. This wasn't just prison guards acting alone. It was a joint operation. Colombian government plus DEA plus prison officials, all coordinating to eliminate him inside his own fortress. The silver fork sat on the table during every interrogation session, Pablo's reminder of the betrayal. The DEA actively worked to eliminate Pablo throughout the early 1990s, documented in declassified files and agent testimony. On the third day, Mendez learned the worst part. His daughter was already in Colombian police custody, taken the morning of June 15th. He'd never been going to Ecuador. The escape was always a lie. Revenge isn't about the crime. It's about the message. June 17, 1992. Pablo made his final decision. Mendez had to die. That was never in question. But the method mattered. It had to send a message to the Colombian government, to the DEA, to anyone else considering similar plans. Pablo ordered the industrial boiler in the prison kitchen heated to maximum, 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The massive vat normally used for cooking large batches of beans would serve a different purpose. Mendez was given one last chance. Quick bullet to the head, or name everyone involved in the conspiracy. Mendez talked for 6 hours straight. He named 14 people. The 3 guards, Otto, the prison warden, 2 DEA contacts in Bogotá, 5 Colombian officials who'd approved the operation, and 3 civilians who'd helped smuggle the cyanide into the prison. Pablo's executions were notoriously brutal, designed to intimidate enemies. This was documented by Colombian police who investigated dozens of cartel-related murders. As Mendez named each person, Pablo's men wrote them down. The final revelation shocked even Pablo. The warden had planned to raid La Catedral after Pablo's death, seize all records, arrest everyone, and claim victory over the cartel. Information is currency, but eventually you run out of things to sell. June 18, 1992, 3 in the morning. Chef Carlos Mendez was taken to the prison kitchen, hands bound, guards surrounding him. The industrial boiler had been heating for 6 hours, steam rising from the opening. Temperature gauge reading 200 degrees exactly. The smell was chemical and hot, like burning metal. Pablo stood watching from the doorway, arms crossed. Mendez was given no final words, no opportunity for confession or apology. The execution method was specific. Placed in the boiler alive, lid sealed but not locked. Temperature maintained for 17 minutes. The guards who'd recruited him were forced to watch. Pablo's orders. Several vomited. The sound was worse than anything they'd imagined. After death, Pablo ordered the body left in the boiler for 24 hours, then discovered by arriving officials. The silver fork, the one from the poisoned meal, was placed in Mendez's hand inside the vat. Pablo's signature, his message. This is what happens to those who betray the fork. Similar brutal executions were attributed to Pablo throughout his career, documented by Colombian police and international investigators. The final touch. Pablo had the entire execution recorded on video. The tape was sent to DEA headquarters in Bogotá within 48 hours. Fear is best served boiling. Everyone remembers the smell. June 19, 1992, morning. Colombian authorities discovered Mendez's body when the smell became impossible to ignore. The industrial vat had cooled overnight, but the odor of cooked flesh permeated the entire kitchen wing of La Catedral. International media descended within hours. CNN, BBC, major newspapers from New York to London ran the story. Chef murdered in Escobar's prison kingdom. The Colombian government was forced to admit what everyone already knew. They'd lost complete control of La Catedral prison. Pablo Escobar ran it as his personal fortress, his palace, his empire headquarters. The discovery triggered immediate political consequences. Within 2 weeks, The Colombian military began planning an emergency raid to transfer Pablo to a real maximum security facility under heavy guard. The 3 prison guards who'd recruited Mendez were never seen again. Their families filed missing persons reports. Rumors circulated in Medellin that they were buried in the mountains, but no bodies were ever recovered. Otto's corpse surfaced in the Medellin River on June 22nd, exactly 1 week after the poisoning attempt. Autopsy revealed cyanide in his system. Pablo's message was clear and darkly ironic. The poison meant for him had found a different victim. News cameras filmed everything, the boiler being removed from La Catedral as evidence, the massive industrial vat loaded onto a flatbed truck, Colombian officials touring the crime scene with handkerchiefs over their faces. Pablo escaped La Catedral on July 22, 1992, walking out just hours before the government raid arrived. Documented fact in Colombian police reports and verified by international news coverage. Over the next 60 days, all 14 people Mendez had named during interrogation died under mysterious circumstances. Car accidents in Bogotá, house fires in Medellin, sudden disappearances, bodies found in canals. The Colombian government never publicly acknowledged the pattern, but intelligence agencies tracked it carefully. The meal was never the target. The empire was. And the empire struck back with calculated precision. July 1992, Pablo fled La Catedral carrying 3 items: $2 million in cash wrapped in plastic, photographs of his wife and children sealed in waterproof pouches, and the silver fork engraved P.E. The fork became his talisman during 16 months on the run, moving between safe houses in working-class Medellin neighborhoods, eating meals prepared only by family members he trusted absolutely. His sister cooked for him, his mother occasionally. Never strangers, never restaurants. The paranoia that had saved his life in La Catedral intensified during his final year. He used the fork at every meal, polishing it himself, keeping it in his pocket when not eating. December 2nd, 1993. Colombian security forces, working with DEA intelligence and advanced tracking technology, located Pablo in a middle-class Medellin neighborhood called Los Olivos. He died on a terracotta rooftop, shot multiple times while trying to escape through a window. The most documented death in Colombian criminal history, photographed from multiple angles, verified globally by law enforcement and media. When authorities searched his body, they found the silver fork in his right jacket pocket, still engraved P.E., still polished despite months of running. Today, the fork sits in the Colombian National Police Museum in Bogotá, catalog number Evidence 1847, displayed behind bulletproof glass next to other artifacts from Pablo's empire. Mendez's daughter lives in Ecuador under a new identity provided by witness protection. She's never returned to Colombia. She never speaks about her father publicly. La Catedral prison was demolished in 2001, bulldozers erasing the luxury fortress where Pablo had ruled. Catholic priests blessed the ground, trying to cleanse it of violence and memory. The silver fork remains, tarnished now but intact, its engraving still visible, a reminder that paranoia kills indiscriminately. It protects, it destroys, it consumes. In the end, Pablo Escobar didn't die from poison. He died from fear of it, and that fear boiled everyone around him alive. The guilty, the innocent, the loyal, and the treacherous. The fork survived them all,